I'm an asshole for going on a date with my boyfriend's best friend. We met in college and we were attached at the hip. We did everything together. We went to the same college, so we saw each other every day. And I really thought that he was the one. Until there was a guy in one of my classes that totally caught my eye. I was assigned to work with him on a project, and I kind of started to fall for him. We hung out a lot because of this project, and it turns out he's one of my boyfriend's friends. I only found this out because I stalked his Instagram and saw a pic of him and my boyfriend. I didn't know my boyfriend's friends yet because we were really private. And this guy did not know I was his best friend's girlfriend, and I wanted to keep it that way. We started getting closer and closer. I made the first move and asked him out. I was still with my boyfriend though. He said yes and I was super happy. I knew I needed to break up with my boyfriend, but I was super scared of hurting him. After our first date, we kissed. Fast forward a couple weeks, my boyfriend introduces me to his friends. The guy I went on the date with was there. I mentally freaked out. He didn't say anything, but it was super awkward. I knew then that I should really break up with my boyfriend. We broke up and I started dating his best friend. I obviously feel really bad, but in a way I'm happier. So am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for moving out of my parents' house after they expected me to pay rent for my room?
Yeah. What a dick.
You thought you wouldn't have to pay rent, dude?
This ain't a free fucking country. Wait, hang on.
Before my 18th birthday over a month ago, my parents started talking about how they expect me to pay for rent, then half of the bills if I expected to stay there.
Half of the bills?
That's insane.
That wasn't the problem. The issue was they were expecting me to pay more than $1,300 a month for my tiny-ass room that I share with my little brother. Not including half of the bills that they expected me to pay.
$1,300 plus half the bills?
Yes.
I want to know what the fucking, housing market is in this area, because that's an insane price.
Most apartments in our city are around that range, but that's for the whole ass apartment, not a single bedroom, plus sharing a space with everyone else. Most of my paycheck would just be going to that then. I don't have a problem with helping with bills and paying for my room if they made the rent to be lower. They said that's how much they agreed on, so that's what I'd have to pay if I want to keep staying there.
That's what the parents agreed on, not the kid.
Correct.
That makes sense.
The parents are just practicing to be slumlords.
Yeah, they're getting you ready for the real world.
I was going to say, maybe they're preparing him for future slumlords.
Yeah, okay. Listen, son, it's going to happen out there. I'd rather it happen under our own house.
Maybe I'd make a buck.
If you're going to get taken advantage of, I want it to be under my roof.
So I said fine, and I talked to one of my friends I already knew had his own place but was looking for a roommate. I ended up going with him, and he added me to the lease. My own room and bathroom, plus the total for rent and my half of the bills, is way less than the rent by itself that my parents expected me to pay. But the thing is, they're super mad at me for leaving. My mom ignored me when I moved out, and my dad kept saying how he was disappointed in me.
Why? What?
For a while, they were hoping to rely on me with helping out with their mortgage payments on the house, also with the bills. So now that I've chosen to leave and said, my dad says I'm going to leave them really struggling, and he can't believe I decided to be selfish instead of helping my family out.
These parents are nuts.
Yeah.
This dude's not the asshole, but these parents they're bonkers.
Am I the asshole for laughing when my family told me bad news about my sister? So my sister has always been the golden child in my dad's eyes. My parents adopted me thinking that they wouldn't have biological parents. They split when I was 10, and my father went on to have my sister. I'll give her this. She was very intelligent, with basically straight A's based on my dad's bragging. Well, my dad expected her to be a doctor or something like that. Very high expectations. My dad for the past year has been paying her rent while she goes to college, even though she works. I called my dad yesterday when he let me know how disappointed he was in my sister. It turns out she's pregnant and has no immediate plans on continuing with her education. And the cherry on top? The father of the baby is only 3 years younger than me. Now, I'm not happy about my sister's situation. I do not approve of her relationship. Well, I laughed when I found out, because the pressure my father has put on her for the past 19 years, with cheerleading, track, countless diets to keep her skinny, making her give up her dream of being a vet, finally made her crack. And I find it hilarious that he doesn't see that he did it to her, and he thinks he has the right to say he's disappointed. My father, however, took this as me laughing at my sister. But when I explained no, I'm laughing at him, it made things so much worse. My stepmother has been texting me non-stop about how I hurt my father, how he just wanted to vent, and as a family, I should support and respect him, and even if I didn't, it was just a genuinely dickish move to laugh. Am I the arsehole?
Am I the asshole for being jealous of my boyfriend's cousin? My boyfriend is out of town with his family. He's sort of far away, around 8 hours drive from our hometown. He's visiting there with his dad and siblings. They're staying at their grandparents' house, and all the cousins are there. He is sharing a room with his female cousin that is the same age as him, and they're sharing a bed.
How old did they say they were?
They never said their ages.
Okay.
How distant of cousins are they?
She's been hanging off him for the week they've been there. She's been sleeping in his shirts, his boxers, etc. Mind you, she lives 25 minutes away, so she could go grab her own things. She wears his swim shorts while swimming, his clothes to bed, his hoodie everywhere. It just seems weird to me. And when I ask how they are related, he doesn't give me an answer and just avoids the question. So, are they actually even cousins? I feel so weird about it, and all my friends say I'm overreacting. Maybe I am, since I've never been close with any of my cousins, though. So am I the asshole?
Am I the a-hole for getting upset my husband left me at home to go clubbing with a friend I hate on his birthday? My husband's birthday was coming up. He and I had made plans to celebrate at home together. I went out earlier in the day to spend a few $100s on fancy food and an expensive alcoholic beverage as a treat. While I was out finalizing plans for delivery of said beverage, he texted to say an old friend of his wanted him to come out that night to go drinking. I seriously dislike this friend, and the friend, while never directly causing an issue, has been the source of encouragement for my husband to drive drunk, get hammered at the club, and so on. I say I absolutely don't want to do that, and that I had plans for us, but didn't want to spoil the surprise just yet, so I didn't tell him how much effort or expense had gone into it. By the time I got home, he was out pre-gaming and upset I didn't want to spend his birthday with him and the friend at the club. When he got home at 4 a.m. after sleeping off some of the drunk under an overpass in his car, I was furious and we got into a shouting match. He said it was my fault I got left behind because I was invited. I was angry at him because I sat at home with his gifts all night, not hearing from him and seeing the social media updates from his friend partying up at the club. So am I the a-hole?
Would I be wrong for leaving after 6.5 years with no proposal in sight? I, 25 female, have been with my partner, 29 male, for 6.5 years. I'm getting fed up with the fact that we haven't gotten married yet. I am ready for the next chapter of our lives and just feel stuck. I can see why you may be thinking I'm shitty. I would too with that heading, but hear me out. We've been together 6.5 years, are financially stable, own a home together for 4 years, and have a dog together. He told me 3 years ago that he was ready, and a proposal still hasn't happened. We've been through a lot together and have grown together. We went through my brain tumor diagnosis, my grandma who raised me passing, his grandpa's passing, and more. He just tells me to be patient, but he won't give me a reason as to why we are waiting. When I've asked him about it, he always tells me that there's nothing holding him back from getting married. He says that he wants the same thing as me. He swears that it's going to happen for us and even told me he had something planned before COVID hit. But I know by his own admittance that it wasn't more than just an idea. He knows marriage is very important to me, which he has always said he's on board for. He also tells me that he'd say no to a proposal from me because he'd be hurt I took the opportunity away from him. I feel like my needs are being dismissed without even being given a reason. If he would communicate a concern, I'd be more understanding, but this just feels ridiculous. The more time that passes, the more frustrated I become. I never ever want to be that woman to give an ultimatum, but I can't wait around forever if it isn't going to happen. I know that sounds terrible, but if we weren't on the same page, we both need to be able to find that person with the same goals, wants, and needs in life, right? So, would I be wrong for leaving him?
Hands down, the craziest story I'm ever going to tell you. And before I get into it, it's incredibly important that you remember that everything I'm going to tell you is true and happened exactly this way. In 8th grade, I had a teacher, Mrs. B, and she could read my mind. And I found out the hard way. So I had her for English and history back to back, 7th and 8th period. And my best friend, Candy, who lived directly behind me, also had her for English and history back to back, but she had her in the morning. So at lunchtime, we would sit around and we would talk about whatever was going to happen in her class. Like Candy would give me the heads up. Like if we had a pop quiz, she would tell me what the questions are. And about halfway through the school year, I'm looking out the window and there's a little bit of a car accident. Now, Mrs. B can't see that from where she's sitting, but she gets up and she goes to the window and she's like, I hope everybody's okay. And I'm like, that's weird. You couldn't see that. And then another day I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about how I want pizza for dinner. And then she announces to the class, we're going to have pizza for dinner at my house. I'm like, what? But then it started getting more serious. So I hadn't done an English assignment and neither did Candy. And so when we got to lunch that day, I'm like, what happened? Did we have a pop quiz? What's going on? And she's like, no, actually, I don't think anybody did the assignment. So she just lectures the whole time. You don't have anything to worry about. Well, I get to her class and I'm staring at her and I'm like, ha ha ha, you don't know. I didn't do the reading. I'm just going to sit here all period. The bell rings. She looks right at me and she says, take out a piece of paper. Pop quiz. what? But then it got really serious. So one day at the end of class, 8th period, we had a fire drill and we were on the 2nd floor. So we had to go down the hall, down the stairs, up the hill, wait outside, and then come back in, up the stairs to our classroom. So we do all of that. And then she gives us free time because it's the end of the day. And I look over at her and she's like using an inhaler and she's having a hard time breathing. Now I'm like 12 and I'm thinking to myself, you know, if you took better care of yourself, you might not have these breathing issues. And right then she locks eyes with me and starts sobbing. So I freak out and I go home. Now I've been telling my mom all about this along the way and my mom's like, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, she can read my mind. I know it. My mom's like, well, then you got to prove it somehow. So we come up with this plan that I'm going to think of a word and I'm going to chant it over and over and over until it drives her insane. And then she's going to have to say something. So I come up with the word popsicles because like, who's going to say the word popsicles? So I go to 7th period and I sit down and I don't tell Candy any of this. Okay. So I get to 7th period and I sit down and I don't say the word out loud, but popsicles, popsicles, popsicles in my head over and over. We get a break. We come back, 8th period. I'm not even listening to the assignment. I'm just thinking popsicles, popsicles, popsicles. So I know that I've never said the word out loud. So the time of the end of the day is like dwindling down and it becomes like 10 minutes before the end of the class period. Mrs. B says, hey, don't you have to go get Candy? She had broken her ankle and I was like her buddy to like meet her at her locker and help her get out of the school building and into our carpool before all the kids came and like trampled her. So I was like, oh yeah, is it okay if I pack up now? She's like, yeah, get out of here. So I get all my stuff and I'm walking to the door and Mrs. B goes over to the window and she's sitting down and she's looking out the window and she says, you know, class. And I stop and I look at her because that's respectful. And she says, with all this snow and ice outside, I really wanna... And she snaps her head and she locks eyes with me and she enunciates the word popsicle. I swear to you, I swear that happened and I'm going to have to post part 2, but it'll be up right now. Popsicle, the greatest story ever told. If you didn't watch the first part, it's posted right before this. This is going to ruin it for you. You're going to want to know the whole story. If you keep watching this, don't watch it. Stop right now. Go back. Okay, so she doesn't just say the word popsicle. She enunciates it. Popsicle while locking eyes with me. Okay. I feel the blood rushing out of my body. I just back out of the class, book it down the hall, get down the stairs, get to Candy's locker. Again, I'm like 12, 13 years old. I have a freak out. I'm like, popsicle. She said popsicle. We can't go to school anymore. She can hear our thoughts. Oh my gosh, we have to quit. We have to quit. Candy's like, what are you talking about? So I try to fill her and I try to explain it. She's like, this does not make sense. We get to the carpool. The carpool mom is there. I tell her the whole story. She's like, you must have misunderstood this woman. I'm like, I did not misunderstand her. Every person that gets in the car, I tell them the story. They also think I'm crazy. I'm like, no, we need a petition. We need to talk to the principal. We need to remove ourselves. I'm never going back to her class. So we get home. This is before cell phones. I get to the house. I drop my backpack. I book it to the landline. I call my mom, my ally, and I tell her, she said popsicle. My mom's like, no way. I'm like, what do you mean, no way? Why would I lie about that? My mom's like, this is just too crazy. Like, there must be a misunderstanding. Also, I'm at work. I can't talk to you. I'll be home in a little while. So in the meantime, I call every person I know. If I have your phone number, I'm calling you to tell you the story. And if you're not there, I tell whoever picked up the phone the entire story, okay? I run out of people to call. I get the phone book. I get to the white pages. I'm just flipping through, calling whoever I can. If it's the wrong number, I don't care. I'm telling you the story. I see my elderly neighbor. She's out on her porch. I go pay her a visit. I tell her the story. Nobody believes me. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. My mom comes home. She sits me down. She's like, okay, start at the beginning. I tell her the whole thing. And she's just like, huh? I like honestly don't know what to tell you at this point. And I'm like, you can tell me I'm not going back to school because I'm not, and I'm definitely not going to her class. And I'm talking to the principal and my mom's like, whoa, none of that is happening. You are going back to school. We're not calling the principal. Like, this is just like, I don't know. You're just gonna have to move on with your life. Okay. This is just one of those life things. And I'm like, you're crazy. So I took a shower. I go to bed. I'm like crying myself to sleep. The world does not understand me. My mom knocks the door. She comes in to check on me and she's like, I just want to see how you're doing. And I'm like, how am I doing? I'm in 8th grade. My teacher can hear my thoughts. How do you think I'm doing? You can take me to school, but I am not going to her class. Just so that we're clear, you can drop me off, but you can't make me go. My mom's like, okay, this is getting out of hand. I'm like, yeah, I know. Thank you. And she says, yeah, so the thing is, today, during her lunch period, I called Mrs. B to see if she wanted to play a joke on you. Yep. My own mother. My own mother. And just to recap, my mother called my 8th grade teacher to tell her that I thought that she could read my mind. She gave her all of that information. And then they went through with the prank. Yep. I was a live-in nanny in New York City when I signed up to play this water gun assassination tournament. So basically it was played throughout the 5 boroughs in Manhattan over the course of a couple of weeks. And when you signed up, you had to disclose the following credentials: your phone number, your email, your home address, your work address, and an idea of your schedule. And the night before the game started, everybody had to meet these guys in the alley in the back of a truck. And they gave you the credentials of the person that you were going after. And it was basically one big circle. So once you got somebody, they had to give you the credentials of the person that they were going after. It was one big circle. And then in the end, one person would be standing.